easier for a little geolocation to go to a call center closer to where you are, but that's a national thing we'll be working on in the coming years. The average speed of answer of those calls was 17 seconds. We tried to answer those calls as quickly as possible because it's life and death on the other end. We need to help people as quickly as possible. That's a 49% increase in volume over the year before on that line, and then a decrease in speed of answer to just over 13 seconds. So we went from 29-second average speed of answer to about 17. So really pleased about that. More people are using the services and we are providing it much quicker. In my book, that's a successful first year for the rollout of 988. We will continue to work with others across the state to build a behavioral health crisis response system that includes a place to call, text, and chat, 988, mobile teams to respond to people in a crisis, and a place to go called crisis stabilization centers for people to go and get help. Renown is building the first crisis stabilization center in the state, and we're hoping that they get that open in early spring of 2024. Steve and the Renown team are here, and we just are so excited to begin sending people to their crisis stabilization center. The best suicide prevention is to get people to the services they need before they are in so much mental pain that death seems like the only option to them. 988 and the statewide behavioral health crisis response system will save lives, but we still have to build everything. You will hear about the importance of a crisis response system from Sherilyn Wood and Emma White in the next few minutes when they tell their stories. This is the Chinese symbol for crisis. I love to show this. It used to be the crisis call center's logo for many years. It was the logo. And the Chinese used two brush strokes to write the word crisis. One brush stroke stands for danger, the other for opportunity. In a crisis, be aware of the danger, but recognize the opportunities. Nevada has an opportunity right now to continue to collaborate, to build a behavioral health crisis response system that will save lives. Crisis Support Services of Nevada has always been aware of the danger of losing our loved ones to the mental health, substance misuse, and suicide epidemics that are ravishing our nation. But we also recognize the opportunity that we have right now to work together to help people, that let them know that there is hope and there can be a better tomorrow through an adequate crisis response system. So thank you so much. You'll hear a lot about being a 988 advocate or a mental health advocate today. And it's really easy to do that. Just let people know. We're here to answer those phone calls. So thanks again for joining us, and I'll turn it back over to Connie Ray.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. Our next lived experience speaker this year is Sherilyn Wood. She is currently Regional Behavioral Health Coordinator with the Nevada Rural Hospital Partners. In a time when we often hear we just don't have enough mental health resources, Sherilyn is doing her part to change that by serving Carson, Churchill, Douglas, Lyon, and Story counties. I'm surprised she could be here today. Sherilyn collaborates closely with community stakeholders, state partners, including law enforcement, EMS, fire, social services, mental health, substance use providers, and family and peer advocates to collaborate in developing and coordinating behavioral health resources within each county and across the northern region. Sherilyn serves as a liaison between the communities and state agencies and supports the established Northern Regional Behavioral Health Policy Board. Please give a warm welcome to Sherilyn Wood.
Apparently, I need some new wardrobe too. I got the same sweater on that I have. Good morning, everyone. Happy Giving Tuesday. As Connie and Rochelle both said, my name is Sherilyn Wood. It is actually Sherilyn Rahr Wood. Yes, I am married, and I want to give my wife her accolades of giving you her name, Rahr. So yes, I'm here today. Rochelle reached out to me a couple months ago and said, "Hey, can you come do a talk? Come talk about your history, your life, and how suicide became prevalent in my life." So I'm going to take you back to about 2007. 2007, I lost my brother to suicide, and 2 weeks later, I lost my dad to suicide. So suicide was really big in my life in 2007. Of course, as we all do, we just shove it off, we slack it off, and we move on with life. We don't talk about it. We don't let people know what has happened, what's transpired. Oh, lost my father, lost my brother, right? We don't tell those stories. Little did I know that in 2013 that I was going to be faced with that same decision of suicide. 2007, lose my brother and father. 2011, I'm working, coaching. I'm doing a job that I love, making decent money to be able to survive and live my life. And on the job, I got hurt. I broke my neck. In less than 10 seconds, I was out cold and not walking. So long story short, have a couple surgeries, go through a lot of pain management. I get put on Oxycontin, Hydros, all those drugs that we talk about nowadays, and I became addicted. So just trying to work my life and go through getting healed. He told me I was going to be disabled, that, stop working. You can choose whatever you want to do now to live. But what I wanted was my life back. I wanted my neck back. I wanted to walk. I wanted to talk. I wanted to do all those things that I was doing before I got addicted and hurt my neck. So long story, 2011, I'm in my doctor's office and we're talking about the pain that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, and that will never go away is what he told me when I asked him straight up, what do I do about this pain? It's not going away. And he said, you'll probably be living with that the rest of your life. And so internally I was like, I'd never had any mental health issues. I'd really never been dealt this card before. And I left that office thinking, I have no hope. I have no purpose. My life is really over. And the struggles that I went through, I got on more drugs, more antidepressants. And 2013, I don't remember the exact date, which is odd. I just remember the year. I remember the time. I drove my car off the 247 in Heavenly, or near North Star, if you guys know where that is. Took my car right off the edge of that. Of course, I was rescued. I lived through it, unfortunately, because that was going to be my end. I lived through it, and so suicide was in my face right then and there. It was a long haul getting back to some kind of normalcy after that issue or that attempt. And so through that, I didn't really seek any help. I didn't get any help. Nobody really offered anything for me. Now remember, this is early on, 2013. And long story short, went through life, went to school, got picked up to go to school for my social work degree, because I told my doctor that I wasn't going to be disabled and that there was something I could do. Didn't know what, so he gave me a list of things. Here's what you can do with your life. And I picked social work, not knowing what that was about, what that was for, what I was going to do for a living. It sounded cool, social work. Who can't deny social, right? I love to talk and be the life of the party. Started my schooling, did really well. I was really focused. I wanted to do well. I wanted to get my degree. I wanted to then go help people. But internally, I knew that there were still some things that I was dealing with. And I remember a lot of my instructors saying, don't talk about your history. Don't talk about your history. So guess what? I didn't talk about my history. Graduate year, for my graduate year, getting my master's, feeling really good about it, but struggling immensely during that year. And in the Christmas of 2017, I knew the day that I was going to take my life, because I was done. And this is the power of knowing resources. somebody saw me. Somebody saw me and saw the way I looked and said, Cheryl, what's going on? That you're not yourself. And I was like, nothing's going on, nothing's going on. They kept having this conversation with me, and finally I told them what was going on. And through that intervention, basically, of somebody noticing me, said, let's reach out to some resources. There's resources in this state that we can use, but you got to be willing to want to. And I knew I didn't want to end my life, really, truly. I just wanted that pain to go away. Pain of knowing that I wasn't the same person that I was. Everybody called me the lemonade maker. I was never the lemonade maker through those years. And so, long story short, with that help, with the identification actually, and somebody saying, are you thinking about suicide? They actually asked me through conversation. I was able to say yes. Hardest thing I've ever said yes to in my life, not gonna lie. But being able to say that and then getting the help that's out there, but we know it's out there. It's just, where is it? And a lot of times, you hear people saying, there's no resources. I will tell you that we don't need resources until we need resources. And then we're like, where are those resources? And so when we can talk about resources and bring them to the forefront before they're even needed, it's a win-win for us, because then we're not scrambling when we need that resource, right? Recently, with a job that I do, I was blessed enough to make a resource, a binder for our counties, 5 that Rochelle, or that Connie just mentioned that I work for. We were able to put together a resource binder. I think the amount of people that said we had no idea that this many resources existed in our county was amazing to me. I had no idea that they didn't realize how many resources existed. So I know we're here for Giving Tuesday, and I know I only have 10 minutes to speak, so keep it on video. Long story short, here I am today. I got the right help. Yes. I have 3 best friends that are all therapists that were my therapist. It wasn't just a one-size-fits-all. And that's one thing that we have to realize too when we're dealing with suicide, mental illness, and things like that. Treatment is not a one-size-fits-all. It really takes a team of effort to help. It also takes that person to say, I want to live and I want to be here for that. But truly, thank you all for being here. Kind of a short synopsis of my story. If you want to know more about it, I'm very willing to share more of it. I'm just glad that I'm here and I was able to take my life situations and say, how do I make a difference with this? And truly, every morning when I put my feet on the floor and I wake up and I say, today I can give hope to somebody. And that drives me to come to work every day and love my job. What we do is very thankless. People don't thank us a lot of times. They're in the need of the help right now. But the work that we do really is thankful. I mean, thankful for all of you being here, stepping up, wanting to support, wanting to do this work that we do and care about our communities. Because without all of you, I wouldn't be standing up here right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherilyn, and I couldn't agree more. That is the joy that the job that we do brings us, is that we get to work with wonderful people like Sherilyn and our next speaker as well. Our next lived experience speaker has taken her personal struggles with suicidal ideation and turned it into a message of empowerment and hope. She is the founder and president of lifeisworthit.org. She is an author. She is also the Youth Suicide Prevention Coordinator for the Nevada Department of Education and Project Aware Manager for the Nevada Office of Suicide Prevention, where she specializes in youth suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention strategies on local, state, and federal levels. Please give a warm welcome to Emma White.
Hello. You're right, it is a long walk. Should have got a head start over here. It's like my cardio for today. Thank you so much for having me here today. Can everybody hear me? Want to make sure you can hear me? Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here in a room full of amazing people and to see so many friendly faces. And thank you, Connie, for the warm introduction. As you can see, I wear a lot of hats in the suicide prevention and mental health space, and I am so thankful to be able to do so. As Connie mentioned, I am the founder and president of the Life is Worth It organization, a nonprofit whose mission is to educate youth and their communities on total life wellness to help prevent suicide. So we educate youth on all the dimensions of their health so that they can obtain a well-rounded, comprehensive health journey throughout their life. I am also the statewide youth suicide prevention coordinator with the Nevada Department of Education and the project aware manager for the Office of Suicide Prevention. I can never get it through one breath. It's a lot of titles. But I know that the most important title that I wear is suicide survivor. I survived suicide when I was 15 years old, and unfortunately, I have lost people to suicide in my life as well. And that, just like Sherilyn, projected me onto a path that I don't think I ever saw coming, but am so grateful to be in this space. So I want to share a little bit about my story with you and why it's so important that we support Crisis Support Services of Nevada and our resources, not only here in our community, but statewide. So I want you to think back to 2010, which was crazily 13 years ago. I don't know how it has gone by so fast. And I want you to think about where you were in 2010, who you were, what jobs you were working, and how different our world looked 13 years ago when it came to suicide prevention and mental health. In 2010, I was 15 years old. I had started my sophomore year of high school at McQueen. Do I have any McQueen graduates in here? Yeah, I usually don't get too many. But yes, that's where I went to high school. And in that year, we were not talking about these things like we do now. I will say that one of the most, probably the only positive thing from the pandemic is that people are now more willing to talk about these things, right? Because we've realized that mental illness is real, that mental health challenges deserve help, that it's okay to reach out for help, and that none of us are perfect, that every single one of us struggles at some point in our life, and we need to reach out for help. But back then in 2010, it was don't ask, don't talk about it, you'll contribute to people's thoughts of suicide or give them those thoughts of suicide, which we know it's not true. So in my health classes, we did not learn about these things. Now, I will give small credit because it was 13 years ago. If we did learn about those things, it was not impactful in my life, probably because I didn't think that I needed it, and I didn't think that I needed to learn it. And I was wrong. In 2010, I made the varsity volleyball and the varsity basketball team at McQueen, which was so exciting for me, not only because I was the youngest person on the teams, but because I had worked so hard to get there, and it was just so thrilling and exciting to be there. Unfortunately, that excitement was ended pretty quickly by sadness when some former friends of mine and former teammates started bullying me at school. And I remember the bullying starting out as rumors and just, if you've ever had a rumor or a lie spread about you, it just feels horrible because it's not who you are and someone else is controlling that narrative of who you are. But it started out as rumors, and then it moved to online social media bullying. Now, in 2010, we did not have Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram. We had Facebook and MySpace. I hear some chuckles. Anybody have a MySpace page? Yeah? Or wishing that you still had a MySpace page, right? The funny thing about that time is that I actually wasn't allowed to have any social media, but that didn't prevent me from being harmed by social media. And so people started spreading things online about me, and I not only couldn't see them, but I couldn't respond to them and try to defend myself, which was a really hard feeling. The bullying also turned into physical bullying, where I was slammed into my lockers at school. I would walk to class, and kids would throw erasers and pencils and all sorts of things at me simply because it was kind of cool to hate someone. But the interesting thing for me is that people hated me for no reason or because of what other people had said. And I always thought it strange, how can you hate someone that you don't know? But a lot of times kids are younger and immature and still trying to navigate life. They kind of hop onto these things. And so I became that scapegoat for a lot of people's insecurities. And they would project those insecurities on me. Not only was it physical bullying, but it turned into stalking and harassment where I was getting anonymous text messages all day long, all night from various phone numbers that I didn't know who they were, detailing everything I was doing, where I was going, what I was wearing. It was all consuming and I couldn't escape it. And so, as we heard Sherilyn talk about pain, that pain came very quickly over 4 months. I remember having my first anxiety attack, and I literally felt like I was having a heart attack because I didn't know what anxiety was. I hadn't learned about it. And so the symptoms were very similar. My body was shaking, going numb. I felt like I was going to throw up or pass out, and it was a terrifying experience. And I continued to experience anxiety almost every single day because I couldn't control what people were saying or what was going to come next. That anxiety turned into depression because I was so terrified to reach out for help because I felt like I had to be the strong girl to get through things. Again, that narrative has been pushed for a very long time in our society that if you reach out for help, it means that you're weak, that you can't get through things, that you should be able to handle whatever life throws at you. But I pose the question, how can any of us know how to handle something that we've never experienced before? Or when it's out of our hands and out of our control, right? So what I did was what a lot of people do is push those emotions deep down in my soul. Because if I don't acknowledge those emotions, they're not real, right? Wrong. What happens in life is when we push our emotions deep down, at some point it has to find its way out. And typically it finds its way out in an explosion, in a crisis. And mine came out in depression. My symptoms of depression were very similar to so many other people. My will to do anything was gone. I couldn't care less about hanging out with my friends and my family members. Didn't care if I played on the basketball team at all. I actually got benched my sophomore year because I wasn't showing up, wasn't putting in the effort. I couldn't eat because my anxiety was so crippling that I felt sick constantly. People who are sad a lot of times either tend to eat too much or not eat at all, and that was true for me. And so in a span of 1 month, I lost 30 pounds because I could not eat. I couldn't sleep, not only because I couldn't get rid of the text messages that were ringing all night long, but because I was so in fear and sad. And the only time that I could express that was when I was alone at night. And so I didn't sleep because of it. Any of us health experts in here know that if you're not eating and you're not sleeping, you are putting yourself on a path not only to have physical illness, but mental illness as well. And so 4 months of experiencing that led me to planning to take my life on December 23rd, 2010. As we heard Sherilyn say, suicide is not about wanting to die. Most people experiencing those thoughts, they don't want to die, but they're in so much pain that they think that that's the only way to get rid of it. And pain comes in so many different forms, physical, mental, emotional. I always talk about my experience with suicide, and many other people experience this too, of living in this dark tunnel where you can't escape it, and you're in this dark tunnel of pain, and you know that outside of that tunnel, there are people that care about you, and there are people that love you, but it's impossible to see that when you're in the tunnel. And the only way to get out of that tunnel is for someone to find a crack in it and reach through the tunnel and reach in and pull you out of it. And so thankfully, I am here today, and I made that plan, but my plan was interrupted by my mother. And so I'm so thankful that I have this opportunity to be here, not only in this room of amazing people, but to have these titles and to work in this space, because I know that I'm not alone in this journey. And many of you have either experienced your own thoughts of suicide or you know someone who's experienced suicide. And that's what makes us stronger and powerful together. In 2010, I did not know what the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number was. Today, I go into schools all across the state, all across the country, and over 50% of students know what 988 is. And I think that that is amazing because they're printing it on the back of their student cards. They have it printed out in their counseling department and in the hallways so that kids know that they are not alone. Our recent research and studies showing 30 to 60% of all Americans are feeling alone. Loneliness is a huge factor in our challenges in life, and not everybody has someone that they trust that they can go to talk about their problems with. Or they do have people that love them and care about them, but they are so ashamed and embarrassed to reach out for help because they feel like they're going to put their pain onto someone else's life. And that's why I think it's so important that Crisis Support Services of Nevada is supported and shared, because we never know when someone is going to need that. It might not be about suicide, but it could be about a breakup. It could be about financial hardships or other things that they are going through in life. And having someone who can respond quickly, as we saw, with no judgment and support and resources is truly life-saving. And so I appreciate the work that Crisis Support Services of Nevada is doing. I appreciate you all being here. I encourage you to continue going out into your circles, into your communities, and sharing this message, sharing this number, 988, with people, because you never know who is going to use it. And I promise you, there are people in your circles that have used it and they haven't told you. I have used 988 to help someone else, and I know that it's a great resource, and I know that it will continue to help people. Thank you so much for being here today, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you so much. Please give another round of applause to Emma White. It's now part of that program, the Ask. Even says it right here on top of my script. Connie's in charge of the Ask. We want to ask you to support the efforts of Crisis Support Services, and we're asking you to do this by being a mental health advocate. You can make a monetary donation. You can do what Emma suggested, share the number. My mental health advocacy started with becoming a stepmother. It's when trauma deeply impacted my family. My two stepdaughters had come to live with us full time. They had been removed from their mother, their biological mother, who was deep in the throes of methamphetamine addiction. And if any of you have ever experienced addiction, no matter who you are, a mother, a child, or a friend, addiction impacts you. It can leave a deep, deep scar. It leaves you traumatized. That trauma can make you more vulnerable to developing a mental health problem. No matter how much you love that person, that trauma is deeply embedded. Katie was 14 when she came to live with her dad and I full time. And I was determined to love that pain away. But there's no handbook on how deep trauma can impact a person. Even with the constant love and every resource imaginable that we provided, it couldn't erase the hurt. The mental health damage was far more than anything that her father and I could have ever imagined. And over the next 4 years, we did everything we could for Katie: counseling, therapy, dance classes, soccer, church. We just couldn't find the thing that would help her get past this pain. And at 18, she left us when we were devastated, but we became hopeful when she decided to join the Marines. We believed that this would be a new beginning for her. But trauma doesn't just go away. It brings with it many highs and many lows. Even after she was married and had 3 beautiful babies, we held our breath. Was this the joy that she had been searching for? Could being a mother end this trauma and heartache that she had experienced? Could she move on? On August 10th of 2018, we found that trauma causes more trauma. That was the day that we learned that our Katie was gone. Trauma had grabbed her and not let go. Katie had taken her life. She left behind her husband and her children, her family, and many, many friends who were now experiencing trauma. How did this happen? They were raising kids together. They were going to games together. How did the child that we loved, that we rescued, how was she gone? I've had many people that have asked me, Do you work with crisis support services because you believe that it could have saved Katie's life? And I can't give you that answer. But the reason I know that I support 988 is because I've been in crisis. I have been so blinded by pain and sorrow, I was afraid I couldn't go on. I have rattled my brain over and over and over, asking, should I have said this? Should I have called sooner? What could we have done? And after you experience the loss of a child to suicide, your world is shattered. You can't see straight. You can't think straight. And when the funeral was over and her husband and the babies moved back to Kansas, we were left alone with our thoughts. Not everyone knows how to approach you after you've lost a child to suicide. Some people, they won't even talk to you anymore at all. That is why I support crisis support services. I know what it's like to feel alone. And I never wanted anyone who is ever going through a crisis to feel as if they had no one. 988 is there for the person in crisis, whatever that crisis is. Yes, maybe it is for the person like Katie who is battling suicidal ideation, struggling with a mental illness. Maybe it's the mother so desperate to help her son who's lost in addiction and she has no idea what to do. Maybe it's there to help the victim of sexual assault who has nowhere to turn and can't share what has happened to them. A crisis is like an accident. You never know when it's going to happen, and it hits you when you least expect it. After being a person in crisis, dealing with the unthinkable, the only thing that could get me through this unimaginable grief was to help others. I wanted to become a mental health advocate. I wanted to make sure that there was always someone there for anyone who might feel as though they have lost hope. You don't have to know that person that you're helping, but just knowing that you've helped provide a resource for them. That is hope. That is why I support 988. I invite you to provide hope for the thousands of Nevadans who have been impacted by trauma, who are dealing with crisis. I ask you to make a donation in the name of someone that you have lost, or someone you know who has experienced crisis. Maybe it's even you. We invite you to donate today, and we invite you to make a commitment to being a mental health advocate. You can donate now if you want, or you can think about it and talk with your spouse. There's a CSS NV prepaid envelope in the goodie bag that you can discuss and donate at a later date. On the form that you sign up to volunteer, you can join the board, or you can help invite people to next year's Compassion Through the Crisis. There's also a QR code and a donation form on your place cards. We're making this very easy for you. I hope that you live your life without a loss like my family has experienced. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to never face a crisis. But if you do, wouldn't you want a 24/7, 365-day lifeline resource that's there to help you? If that answer is yes, and if you've heard any of these stories today and you are helped from these stories, I encourage you to be a mental health advocate. Provide the 988 resource. Leave today. Tell 3 people that you were here. Give them those 3 numbers. And I ask you to donate. And I thank you for listening to these stories today. Right now, I'd like to introduce to you Shannon Bell. She is our president of the board, and she's a mental health advocate.
Okay, this is it. We're going to close this down. But I definitely want to thank you all for joining us today, as we said, for our 7th annual Compassion Through Crisis Breakfast. My name is Shannon Bell, and I'm the board president, and I'm so proud to be the board president of this organization. As you heard from our speakers today, CSNB is a nonprofit organization, and none of what we do would be possible without the dedication and compassion of our staff, volunteers, and supporters. So with that, I would like to pause for a moment and ask any of our staff and volunteers to please stand and just give them a thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank our executive staff, our volunteer board, our hotline and crisis intervention staff, our in-person advocacy staff, and our volunteers. They lead our organization. They ensure we could fulfill our mission and serve our community. They answer the calls and texts from people who are in pain, people who are struggling, desperate for help. They offer hope and guidance, and they save lives every day. And I want to thank you, our supporters. You've made our work possible. You're the ones who believe in our mission, you value our services, and you invest in our future. But there's always a but. We need your help. Connie said it, everyone's mentioned it. We need you to help spread the word about our services and the 988 line that connects anyone in need of 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. We're asking you to leave here today and make a conscious effort every day to be a mental health advocate in your communities. Tell your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, anyone you know about 988 and how it can save lives. You can visit our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. We post helpful tips, resources, stories of hope that you can leverage and share. And by doing this, you'll help us reach more people who are struggling and just let them know they're not alone. You can share your own story of hope and recovery. Thank you to Emma and Sherilyn today. If it inspires others to seek help. You can make a difference in someone's life. There is hope, and help is only 3 numbers away. Thank you for being a part of our community and for being a mental health advocate every day. Together, we will help people in crisis find hope and healing. Together, we will save lives. So thank you for taking time out of your very busy days and schedules today to join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you again for all being here today on this beautiful Giving Tuesday. And if we leave you with one message, you can give every day. You can share our message. You can provide the 988 number. And I wanted to tell something to Emma. I know that she probably knows this. Where are you, beautiful? This is how much we've improved. Reno High School is painting 988 in their main hallway. That will be happening after the first of the year. We are making strides, and we leave you here with a thank you. Thank you for being mental health advocates. We don't have medals for you, but I know you're going to go out there and be an advocate. Thank you again to our sponsors, Carillon, Greater Nevada Credit Union, Sierra Health and Wellness Center, Clark & Associates, and thank you to the National Automobile Museum. Thank you to Roundabout Catering. Thank you again to Sherilyn and Emma White for sharing your stories, and to our amazing staff and volunteers at CSSNB. Thank you. Happy Giving Tuesday.